Running shoes, we like them. They're part of the pathway to true enjoyment for runners. After all, it's the bit that actually touches the floor. But sometimes it's pretty easy to overthink it all, isn't it? Upper, midsole, outsole, lug depth, midsole durometer softness, upper breathability, the thickness of the upper, midsole height, the drop, lace length, price, use case, etc. One of the questions that I get asked more than any other on the channel, which of the race shoes is the best? If I could buy one, which one should it be? So what if I was to place all the latest super race shoes that I've tested out over the last year or so into a list? Quick fire ratings of recently tested race shoes. Here they come. Thanks for tuning in, people. It's always appreciated. Hit that subscribe button and give the video a thumbs up like. Also, comment below on the rankings. Yeah, loads to get through, so I'm going to try to keep it as evaluative as possible, not too much descriptive text here. Here come the ratings, let's go. So, VAPORFLY 3 first from Nike. Nice nimble shoe, certainly in my size. It's pretty much all that you'd expect from a VAPORFLY shoe with ZoomX material. Decent durability on the outsole as well after 100 miles. But a weirdly shaped upper keeps it from being one of the top tier shoes for me. Don't get me wrong, I think it's still a top option for many of you out there, but I feel like some of the other shoes have caught up with it. It hasn't changed all that much from earlier iterations. So I'm going to put this one in as a tier B, just down to the weird fit really in the toe box. It was somewhat parachute-like for me, and it's not really bringing much new to the table, I suppose. Strangely, it just felt not as exciting to run in as the previous versions. Next up, the ADIOS Pro 3 from Adidas. Again, it's upper fit that spoils the party. Certainly durable though in terms of the outsole and that midsole. It really does live up to the test of time. It breaks into that midsole and feels better and better the more you use it, so probably a good training option too. Very responsive sort of shoe, this one. Way more durable than the ZoomX that you get in the Nike shoes, and outsole grip that's pretty much as per any other Adidas shoe that's got Continental. So just again, the upper, a bit of a letdown on the ADIOS Pro 3 for me. It's mainly this section around the first eyelets, just couldn't really get a good fit. As such, it drops it to a B tier for me. Great midsole and outsole, just again let down by the upper. Onwards and upwards. METASPEED Sky Paris now from ASICS. Super light, lots of PBs in this shoe for me personally, and it's a great option across the board for all different race distances, so whether you're racing 5k or right through to the marathon. Midsole's holding up pretty well over my pummeling, and I love the upper. A bit more traditional but very lightweight and breathable, easy to get a good lockdown here. I'd suggest the only Achilles heel of the shoe is the rubber on the outsole. That is beginning to wear down a little bit. You haven't quite got that coarse pattern there anymore, so creeping up to 100 miles on this one, but I think I'd still put it into a tier A. Not quite the S tier for this one. I think it is one of the best out there right now, the ASICS METASPEED Sky Paris. Next up, the On Cloud Boom Echo 3. I've enjoyed this shoe actually more and more that I've used it. I wasn't quite sure about it initially. It reminds me a little bit of those old school style Adidas shoes like the ADIOS 4 or 5, but there's more stack here, thicker midsole, and it's quite a responsive material too. I really like this one for some faster bursts, perhaps if I'm training and I want to put in some like 400 or 800 meter bursts in there, and it's certainly a better fitting upper than the Nike or Adidas shoes. I think the only thing stopping me from putting this one into a tier A would be the durability so far. The rubber's wearing down quite a bit, certainly in the heel area. I'm starting to lose some of the pattern here in the forefoot. It's certainly the best on shoe that I've tried out across the whole range. I just feel this one's a little bit too firm perhaps for a lot of people. They want that step-in feel, and I just don't feel it's got this one, and it's quite a hefty price tag as well. So I'll put this one into a tier B for the On Cloud Echo Boom 3. Next up, the SAUCONY ENDORPHIN Pro 4. I feel this is the pinnacle of the ENDORPHIN Pro series so far. It's got all the best bits that we've had from 1, 2 and 3 into like a greatest hits. Certainly an improved outsole on the ENDORPHIN Pro 4. That was one of my big bugbears with the previous versions. Certainly in terms of wet grip as well, it's really good now. Great fitting upper as well, really easy to dial it in. I have changed up the laces a little bit, even tried some different lacing patterns as well. That seems to have improved things further. I think the midsole here is responsive enough to handle pretty much anything from 5k through to a marathon. So if you're after a versatile shoe, I think this is one of the best. I'm going to place this one into a tier A along with the ASICS METASPEED Sky Paris. So far it's the most usable shoe in this video as well. That you can use it in training too and not have to baby it too much. Really is rather durable. It stands up to the test. The construction of the midsole just seems to be that little bit more hardy, I suppose. You don't get any tearing or anything like that. Even the exposed stuff here is holding up really well. So tier A for the SAUCONY ENDORPHIN Pro 4. The big boy now, the ALPHAFLY 3 from Nike. Now, when I first reviewed this one, my initial review, I would have placed it probably like a tier E or something. I really didn't get on with it on the first run, but with my other pair, it got better and better the more miles I put into it, and it's really one of my favourites now. Perhaps more a half marathon to marathon shoe, though I do like the fact that they have relieved the weight a little bit on this third version. This one almost feels like you want to land in the heel there and absorb some of that impact to get rolled onto those very responsive air units in the forefoot. Feels as if they're doing a little bit more now, the air units. There's not so much foam around them. They're a bit freer to sort of compress and spring you on. It's an addictive shoe. I use my other pair in training and it's just one you want to keep putting on foot. It's just so fun and energizing to run in. Really love the upper fit as well on the ALPHAFLY 3. Get your foot in there. You hardly need any lace tension at all to achieve a good lockdown. Containing, breathable, super fun to run in, and even found it pretty durable to boot. If I'm going to place it into a tier, it's got to be A. It does have a little bit extra weight over some of the other models, and I feel that this one is a type of shoe it's either going to work for you really well, or you're just going to feel like you're wearing some sort of clog. It is very compressive, and I do feel you need to get some miles into the shoe to truly understand it, to come to terms with it. But the ALPHAFLY 3 is certainly up there in good company in tier A with the SAUCONY ENDORPHIN Pro 4 and the ASICS METASPEED Sky Paris. Let me know what you think of my ratings so far down in the comments. I've only featured shoes that I've actually used and run in and experienced. The ENDORPHIN Elite is next up. It's another firm but fair teacher of the speed facilitating variety. Now, the Elite is very much the outlier here. It's the type of shoe that would be queuing up outside a new hipster restaurant. It's searching out vintage ties on a Sunday morning and listening to obscure indie bands that you've never heard of. Well, maybe it's not that odd, it's a shoe at the end of the day, but I do feel this one takes a little bit of time to get used to and to get the best out of it. It is very rigid, one of the shoes that really wants to make you run fast to get the most from it. I don't think it's one of the most versatile. I think the ENDORPHIN Pro 4 still got that crown. Certainly a 10k to full marathon shoe, this one for me. I just feel it would destroy me if I wore it for a 5k. I think it would just absolutely destroy me. It's the low to the ground sports model, the bodywork relieved of all weight. It's no shoe that you'd go for a trip to Argos in on a Sunday morning. You get the picture, right? It's certainly one of the more expensive models to rate, and it's one of the more niche shoes for me. I don't think people would want to use this in training. There's a lot of exposed midsole here that's going to get chewed up very, very quickly. I'm going to place the SAUCONY ENDORPHIN Elite into tier B. Only reduced a little bit by the fragile nature of that midsole. Very exposed in some areas, and there's a tasty price. Onwards and upwards. Next up, Hoka Rocket X2. It's downstairs at the moment drying out. It's completely soaking wet because I've had to wash it. Don't worry, I didn't put it in the machine or anything. I just used some brushes and a bit of water. A nifty compressive shoe with a very soft feel on the heel, though rigid rocker in the forefoot. I like it, I think, for half marathon to full marathon effort. Though it's a little bit too controlling for my liking for like a 5 or 10k. When you got those faster cadences, it just didn't feel quite so good to me. Felt like I needed a little bit more power to get up to those faster speeds. It's a slightly nicer price though. This one doesn't quite have the durability in the rear section of the shoe. Some of the foam's tearing up a little bit there. Nowhere near as close to like the perceived longevity you might get from the ADIOS Pro 3. I'm going to place the Rocket X2 into tier C. CIELO X1 next from Hoka. Now, this one fits the bill as a super shoe, got 40mm of stack here in the heel, and it seems to be Hoka's attempt at a more stable super shoe with a carbon plate, though I feel the upper is certainly an acquired taste. Again, it feels okay as a marathon shoe where weight's not so much of an issue, but again, it feels like you need a little bit more effort to get up to those speeds that you might achieve in like a 5 or 10k. It's also a very expensive shoe. 250 quid here in the UK is no joke. Almost feels like a training option really, rather than an out and out race shoe considering the weight. I'm going to place the CIELO X1 from Hoka into a tier D. I really like it for training, but you know, we're talking racing today, so. Couple of shoes up from Puma next. We've got the Puma DEVIATE Nitro Elite 2. It's been out for a while, this shoe, but there's loads of colorways and you can pick them up on a good discount. It's a nimble shoe, very natural feel to it. I think that's because of the fact it isn't a 40mm shoe in the sample size. It's a little bit below that. Doesn't feel unstable at all, so nice standardized lacing and a really great outsole. I think I'd probably want a little bit more cushion if I was going to run a marathon, so this wouldn't be my first choice. A little bit more stack would be certainly very helpful, but I really like the upper, very breathable, and it feels like quite a natural shoe. It doesn't kind of shape the way you run too much. Probably not the speediest or most propulsive out there, but I'm going to place this one into a tier C. Next up, the Fastar Nitro Elite 2 from Puma. This is easily Puma's best super shoe yet. 40mm in the heel and loads of squashy foam here. Though I think if you're a heavier runner, I reckon you're going to bottom this one out a little bit too easily. Main issue here is the weight. It's quite a weighty shoe, even compared to something like the ALPHAFLY 3, though I have found it to be super durable in terms of the midsole and also the outsole as well. Barely any wear whatsoever after 100 miles. I love the upper. It requires very little lace tension to get it locked around the foot. Grips absolutely on point, and the point here at the end of the shoe doesn't actually really make it feel that weird. You don't like get it caught on anything. Over 100 miles I experienced none of that. I think the Fastar Nitro Elite 2 is a worthy tier B option. Next up, the MIZUNO Wave Rebellion Pro. Bit of a forgotten one, this one. Loads of other shoes came in. I haven't really got a chance to test it out as fully as I'd want to, so I'm going to be reasonably easy on this one. I think it's one for the enthusiasts though, because not everybody's going to want to contend with the very extreme heel bevel here, and I can tell you're an enthusiast. Perhaps needs a little bit of break-in time to get used to the shoe, but when I did take it out I found it to be a very fun and exciting option for the right person. Again, I think if you're a heavier runner you might just bottom out this one, especially considering you've got that quite aggressive cutout here that kind of ends in the arch area, and it did command a very specific range of pace. I just think I'm a little bit too light for this one to get the best out of it. It's kind of an odd match really. You've got a firmer sort of foam, but when you put some weight onto it, due to the fact loads of it's been cut out, it does feel a little bit odd. As such, I'm going to place the MIZUNO Wave Rebellion Pro into tier D. A few noteworthy ones here. The KIPRUN. I never remember what this one's called. It's the KD900X LD. Just call it the KD900. It would be a little bit easier to remember. Again, this one is a firmer shoe, very narrow as well, and quite a glove-like upper, I suppose. This one felt good as like a 5 or 10k option, really. If you're looking for a super shoe that's really versatile, don't think this is the one for you. A little bit lower than the max stack as well. I think it was a little bit heavier too than I'd have wanted. Just feel there's better shoes that kind of hit the spot. I'll place the KIPRUN KD900X LD into tier D. Really enjoyed the Under Armour Flow Velocity Elite. This had a really interesting setup with two different foams here, though it did hit that max stack. Really like the upper actually, nice and conforming, nice and fitting, and the durability was pretty good on this one due to that flow foam that you've got underneath the PUMA section here in the midsole. Again, not sure if this one has the cushion that I would want really for a marathon, but I think for everything below that it's pretty useful. I shall place the Under Armour Flow Velocity Elite into tier C. I got one more for you, and now this is a race shoe out and out from Adidas. The Takumi Sen 10 is an absolute banger in terms of weight, durability, and that superb firm propulsive feel. We got energy rods, we got continental rubber, we've got a glove-like upper fit to this one, and it's a really nice price too. It comes in way below the majority of all of the shoes in today's video. If I was going to have to place this one into a tier, I'm going to go tier B. Great for half marathon or below for most folks. I just don't think it's got quite the stack and the cushion required for a marathon for the majority. God, I need to sit down after all that. That's a lot of shoes. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on my ratings today down in the comments. Very quick musical interlude for you. Very recently been watching some of my favourite films back again. Do the Right Thing, always one of my favourites. Interesting message there, and some of it's left up to you to decide, you know, who did the right thing at the end. Of course, throughout that film you have Fight the Power from Public Enemy. Now, besides some controversy surrounding one of the members who was sacked and rejoined the group a little way down the line, this is a fantastic tune, a iconic track, I suppose. Very much what I would say is a hardcore hip-hop track. Features all those very necessary elements. There's some fantastic turntable work in there too. And Public Enemy were always one of those groups where the vocals were up high in the mix. You could actually hear what they were trying to say and what they were trying to put across. And there's a very strong message in this one, certainly. And you would suggest that a lot of the things that they were talking about right then, some of them may have improved, but there's still some significant issues that have to be addressed. One of those tracks where you listen to it, and I do enjoy the music, but I come away from it with perhaps more questions. Very provocative tune, that's for sure. You can only imagine what an 11-year-old EDDBUD thought of all of that stuff. He thinks very much the same thing that he does now. Fight the Power from Public Enemy. Thanks for tuning in, people. Always appreciated. Hit that subscribe button and also give this video a thumbs up like. Drop us a comment as well for the algorithm. My name's EDDBUD, and I'll be seeing you